feel like you're stuck in the same situation where all you do is pay bills, you're trying to get out of debt, and it just feels like it's going nowhere fast, and no matter how much you pay, you're still in debt, still owing the same amount? Well, if you feel that way, then this is the video for you today, because I'm going to talk to you about how I was able to pay off over $20,000 in debt to become debt-free just a few years ago. And I want to share with you step by step the action that I took to get myself out of feeling that way, paying off this debt, and to stay debt-free. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and sit back and relax, grab your notebooks if you need to, and let's get started right now. Hey guys, come on in. Welcome to my channel. Hi, my name is Chris. If you are new here and you're just watching this video for the first time, this is Budgeting Just Because, where we talk all things budgeting to help us reach financial freedom that much smarter and that much quicker. And in today's video, I thought we'd talk about debt for a minute, how to get out of debt. And I wanted to share my story with you all, how I was able to get myself out of debt. And I used these 6 steps to help me get out of debt. And these are not 6 steps that I found somewhere that someone told me to do. These are just 6 steps in general that I took seriously while I was paying off my debt to help me pay off the debt and stay out of debt. And so I thought I'd share those with you today. So with that being said, the first step in getting your debt paid off is that you've got to face the debt. All right, Chris, what do you mean by you have to face the debt? Well, the first thing you need to do, and the first thing that I did, was I wrote down every debt that I had, and I wrote down the amount down to the penny, how much I owe. Now, to do this, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find all of your statements. You're going to have to go to websites to write down the exact amount of money that you owe. The purpose of this is you don't want to guess. If you're trying to pay off your debt, you don't want to guess how much you owe. You want to have all those numbers. And I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be scary. It's going to be scary because this is one of those things where you are facing your fears. You're facing your bad habits. And sometimes we don't want to look at that. But in order to pay off all of your debt, you've got to write it all down. Do not miss any. Do not write down those debts that you want to, put in the back of your mind that you hate, that you got yourself in that situation. You're going to have to write them all down, including the amount of interest, especially on credit cards, that you pay. And this is going to help take you to the next step to get that debt paid off. Step number 2 is figuring out a debt payoff method that's going to work best for you to help you get your debt paid off. Earlier this week, I posted a YouTube short asking you guys, which debt payoff method do you prefer, debt snowball or debt avalanche? Now, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of the times, the majority of folks choose debt snowball. It is the easier of the two to do, because you celebrate those small wins. Debt avalanche is debt avalanche, if you choose that method, it's very smart. Now, let me explain both of them for those of you who may be new. So debt snowball is a payment method of where all of those bills you just wrote down in step 1, you're going to organize them from smallest to largest. And you're going to pay the bills off in that order. So, for example, you're going to pay off your smallest bill, and you're going to put everything towards that smallest bill, every extra penny that you got, extra dollar, to paying that off while still paying the minimum on your other debt. Once you pay that one off, you're going to take all the money you were using to pay off that one to pay off the next one. Still maintaining the minimum balance on the others that you have, but putting all your extra money into this one until you get it paid off, so on and so forth. Now, for debt avalanche, what you do is once you write all your debt down from step 1, including your interest, you're going to pay off from the highest interest down to the lowest interest. Okay? The reason this method works well is if you're paying off a card with high interest rate and you get that knocked out, you're not paying so much in interest on the rest of the credit cards you're trying to pay off. One of my members mentioned in the comments that, this is Leroy from 40 and Broke, he mentioned that he used his own method and he paid off what caused him the most stress first. I was like, that is a good idea. He said the bill that caused him the most stress, he went in order from that. And sometimes when we're doing these things, like I said, you can come up with your own creative way of how you pay off your debt, whatever motivates you. And I was like, that's a smart idea. Because you know those bills that cause you stress, the ones that are harassing you the most, threatening you the most, threatening to take this, threatening to turn off that. We all know the ones. So you may want to deal with the ones who stress you out the most, because if you pay them off first, and they leave you alone, see, that kind of, works with your mindset. You're not dealing with them anymore. So the point is, after you write down all of your debt from step 1, step 2 is to figure out the best payment method that you're going to apply to get that debt paid off. Now, steps 3 through 6 is when the work comes in. Steps 3 through 6 is when you're going to have to put in the work to get this debt paid off. And this is probably when people get afraid and they don't move forward past these steps, because this is when you got to put in the work. And steps 1 and 2, that doesn't take any work. You go write down all your bills. You can do all that. You figure out which payment method you're going to do. Great. Steps 3 through 6 is when you put the action into place. So step number 3 is creating a timeline on when you want to get that debt paid off. This helped me tremendously. I'm talking about, I took a notebook, I wrote out a calendar, and I set a deadline for each one of those debts that I wanted to pay off. You're going to have to do that, because you're going to have to give yourself a deadline of getting that debt paid off. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to be debt free, I'm going to pay these bills off. See, that's not motivating you. You know how you give yourself a deadline to get things done? Say if you got a deadline at work, you got to turn a project into work, or you got to get something done, a report at school. You know that they're serious. You've got to get that turned in on that day. Same thing with paying off your debt. Create a timeline. It's going to make you work that much harder to getting that debt paid off. And it's going to let you figure out, okay, I need to make this much by this deadline to get this paid off. So for instance, if you owe $500 on your smallest bill, set a deadline to get it paid off in 3 months. That means you'll need to pay at least $166 a month. So now you have a timeline, you know how much you want to pay. You know you need to come up with $166 a month. You're going to break that down by paycheck, and then you're going to come up with a plan on how you're going to get that money to pay towards that debt, which leads us to step number 4. Step number 4 is critical. Step number 4 is earning extra income. If you don't have a way in your budget to move things around to make this plan take place to pay off this debt, then you're going to have to focus on making some extra income. Now, this is the part, again, I told you these are the parts in the steps that trip people up, because this is the part when they say, I can't do it. I don't have a way to do it. I don't know how to do it. When I was paying off my debt, and this situation may not be applicable to everyone, but for me, the one thing I did was I signed up for every ounce of OT I could possibly get with my job. Even if it wasn't on my team, if another team had OT and I knew how to do their work, I would sign up for their OT. I was OT crazy. And when I say I worked OT, I worked every bit of it. If we had 10 hours of OT available, I would work 10 hours. If we had 20 hours available, I would work it, because I knew I was on a mission. Another thing I did was I DoorDashed when I was paying off my debt. And I meant, when I tell you I DoorDash, I DoorDash. I would work my regular 9 to 5, and then after work, I would go and DoorDash for 4 hours. And I would DoorDash on the weekends too. And one of the biggest things about getting a second job or a side hustle or things like that, you worry about the time it takes away from your family. But one of the things I did, especially with DoorDashing, I made it a family event. My daughter would come with me. Sometimes my mom would come with me, and we would just have a great time in that car. They were there supporting me. My daughter would bring her homework. She would help with the deliveries. My mom was there. She was helping with the map. And sometimes she'd go to sleep. We laugh at her about that, because we hit the corner and she'd take a nap. But still, we were all together. But to this day, we talk about how much we miss dashing, because I think what it was is I created an environment while I was making extra money to make memories with my family. So instead of me leaving my daughter at home and doing all this extra work, I found a way that it was a family event, so that, she understood mommy was making extra money to pay off bills, but we can do it together and let's make it fun. So I know sometimes it's hard to figure out how you're going to make that extra money. But if you are on a mission to get this debt paid off, that's one of the things you're going to have to bring into this plan. how you're going to make that extra money, especially if you can't move things around in your budget. If you can move things around in your budget to get your debt paid off, great. But if not, this is a big conversation you're going to have with yourself and your family. But extra income is going to have to be involved, and you're going to have to think about ways to do it. Step number 5 is probably the most important out of all of the steps, to me anyway. Step number 5 is avoid temptation. Now, if you're sticking through steps 1 through 4, by this point, you've started paying off debt. By this point, you've gotten some credit cards paid off. You've noticed your credit score is increasing. And one thing you're going to notice is how much extra cash you're starting to see. Think about it. Say if you paid off 3 credit cards so far, and you got 3 more. Think about that extra money you now have, right? Now you got extra money. You're making extra money to pay off this debt. So now you got this extra money. Do I really need to be putting it towards paying off this debt? I got some extra money in my pocket. Don't do it. The temptation is going to hit you where it's going to try to take you off track, keep you off game, and you cannot say yes to it. That's what money does. When you allow money to make decisions like that for you, it's now taking control. Step number 5 is so important. I remember when I was at this step. What happened to me was once I started paying off those credit cards, the creditors are looking because you got to understand their job is they want to keep you in debt. They don't make money if you are not paying those high interest fees. You understand? They don't make money if you're missing your payments and you're not paying those late fees. So they're watching. They're watching like, oh, look at her trying to, wait a minute, what is she over there? She trying to pay off debt? What's she over there doing? That's what they started doing. So guess what started happening to me? I started getting more and more credit card invitations in the mail every day. To this day, I still get them. Every day, because now they're seeing you're paying off your credit. They're seeing you're serious. Oh, we can't allow that. Let's send her more credit cards to apply for. Let's send her a larger credit increase. Oh, that's a good one. They're going to increase your credit. You have to act like it's not happening. And this is where we'll lose a bunch of folks at this step because they'll fall for that temptation. Don't do it. So when you're paying off your debt, that's why it's so important to have that timeline. Stay focused on that timeline. Don't fall victim of that credit increases you're about to start getting. Don't fall victim of those credit invitations you're going to get. Do not fall victim of you're working that extra job and you got this extra money and you can just keep this extra money, do these things and you'll just keep paying the minimum. Keep your eye on the prize, and that's to get that debt paid off. You're almost there. And the final important step, for me anyway, to paying off debt is what happens when you pay off that debt. So in my situation, once I got down to my last credit card and I paid it off, now it's like, now what? Because I tell you guys this story, but this wasn't my first time in debt where I finally paid it off. No, I had been in debt several times, paid off all the debt just to run it back up again. But this final time, 4 years ago, when I finally took it seriously, and I've been debt-free ever since then, what helped me continue to stay debt-free are sinking funds. So once you get to a point where you've paid off your debt and you're debt-free, if you want to stay debt-free and not fall back into the vicious cycle, start setting up sinking funds to help you. And sinking funds have helped me tremendously. Sinking funds have helped me not only to get out of debt and to stay out of debt, but they have helped me save more money than I've ever saved before in my entire life. You know why? Because now I'm planning for those expenses that I would normally run up on my credit card. Now I'm saving for them in advance. I know when they're happening. So now a sinking fund is going to help me plan for that. For instance, we all know Christmas is the same time every year to the T. Christmas don't change. But now that I got a sinking fund, see, I can save for it now. Before, I would put it on my credit card, run up my credit card, have a great time at Christmas. Did I pay off that bill? Nope. I paid the minimum. I paid the minimum balance for those charges. But now that I have a sinking fund and I can set up how much I want to save for Christmas, this is how much I need to save every month, and then I have the money when that period comes, now I don't have to worry about debt. This is why I say to you guys all the time, and you hear me say this, and this is my motto: save for the things that you want so you do not go into debt. And this has helped me tremendously not fall back into the pressures of going into debt. So once you've created this action plan and you paid off your debt, channel that energy now into how can it help me stay out of debt and save money. Switch the energy. Now the focus, you're debt free. Now change that focus, change that narrative so you don't fall back into the vicious cycle. If you haven't started saving with sinking funds yet, make sure you click the video in my description box below so you can learn about sinking funds and how helpful they are on your financial journey. So I just want you guys to know the journey won't be perfect, and it's not going to happen overnight. I know we want to get rid of that debt overnight. It's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen if you don't have a plan either. So that's why I wanted to share these 6 steps with you that helped me on my debt-free journey. And I wanted to help you in some sort of way. Take it, twist it, make it your own, rewrite it. But just know that you're going to have a plan of action to get out of debt. It's not just saying in your head, I'm getting out of debt. Today's the day. That's all fine and good to motivate yourself. But like with anything else, you are going to have to write down a plan of attack to make sure it works. And I hope these 6 steps can help you get there. So that is the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do. Hopefully you'll hit that like button and share this out to others who are on their debt-free journey so we can all help one another get there. And also make sure you guys are joining my lives every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central. These are the topics we discuss as a community to help champion each other, to know that we can do it. We support each other, and we're going to support each other on this journey. So with that being said, I will see you guys back here next week. Bye.